I was watching one of the best horror movies of 2022, Bodies, 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 and I thought to myself, I like this movie. It's about a gaggle of generational Zers who ride out one of the worst hurricanes of the season in a beautiful, secluded mansion. Only the party gets way out of control when they play a game formerly known as Wolf, but now called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. One by one, the youngsters either go missing or end up dead. The survivors need to decide who the killer is and work to escape from him or her before they themselves are axed. Great movie, great premise, great plot. However, I think that a lot of people may have missed the hidden messages behind this movie. What is a message, you may ask? Well, it seems that our society is grooming our youth to be woke. And woke doesn't just mean treating people kindly or being more racially tolerant. It's about sweeping people into a massive tidal wave of groupthink, where they lose their footing and their ability to think for themselves. I'll explain how and why in this video, so please stay tuned. I was always a big fan of Steve Jobs. In fact, I am ridiculed by Apple haters who can't understand why I spend close to $2,000 on a computer with just a few extra bells and whistles. What can I say? I'm addicted. Steve Jobs got me hooked to an experience almost a decade ago. And now I don't even know how to use an Android or even know how to use a Dell computer. It doesn't help that I joined the Apple community where everyone and their mama brags about Apple products and gadgets. It's gotten to a point where I don't even think about buying another brand. I just go right to the Apple store. I know. I have first world problems. However, I believe that these problems are ruining our society. For one, we are inundated with information. There is literally no off button. Secondly, you can have anything that you want anytime you want it. Movies, gossip, drama, food, clothes, gadgets. If you got the money to pay, well, there is someone out there ready and willing to take your money. Thirdly, consumerism is fueled by greed, and people are not only trying to get you to buy goods and services, they're also trying to get you to buy into a certain belief system. There is an indoctrination process that happens very early, where people want you to be hooked to a certain experience. This way, they not only control the products, but also the behavior that drives you to buy the products. Worse, you get swept up into this cult of groupthink where you lose the ability to actually think for yourself, to think logically. And if you don't have the proper framework or a predestined set of rules that you always follow, your life can devolve into a complete mess really quickly. Let's take a look at Sophie and Bee. They are young and they are in love. Only problem is Sophie is spoiled rotten. And of course, she's filthy rich. Her friends ratted her out to her father, and thus she was forced to go into rehab. Poor thing. She comes out with not only a new lease on life, but a beautiful woman by her side. Sadly, Bee isn't rich. She's far from it. She lies about graduating from college and even working at a gadget store in the neighborhood mall. David is a dick. He feels threatened by any man who has bigger balls than him. Now, David is clearly the alpha male in this group, and he's just not used to someone who is handsome and older showing him up. Emma is his anxious girlfriend who only cares about being adored. With that said, she doesn't care at all about her admirers. It's all about how they make her feel. Jordan is Sophie's side piece, and Alice is a coked up podcaster who talks out of both sides of her mouth. Now, with a character lineup like this, it's easy to understand how this party turned deadly. You have a whole bunch of people who are glued to their phones and thus addicted to drama. So when the power goes out and the phone reception is lost, it's time to create their own drama. And what better way to do that than to play an innocent, harmless game? Only the game isn't harmless. It's filled with microaggressions and accusations. Why? Well, because you have people who aren't equipped to understand their own emotions, much less others. Then David is supposedly murdered. This is when things take a turn for the worse, and the game of bodies, bodies, bodies turns into projections, projections, projections. Everybody is called out. Everyone is accused of murder, and everyone is a suspect. And guess what? No one takes any real responsibility. Instead, they go off on a hunt trying to find this killer, airing out everyone's dirty laundry all in the process. Sophie cheated on Bee with Jordan. Jordan has a superiority complex, and everyone in their clique secretly hates her. David is a spoiled rich kid who buys people's affections. Emma thinks everyone's in love with her, and Alice thinks that everyone wants her man. They're all drunk or high, and not one person puts an end to this madness. Instead, it spirals out of control until almost everyone in the mansion is dead. And that, my friends, is what groupthink is. It slowly destroys people. It cripples free thought. It encourages conformity. And worse, it causes people to get addicted to an experience that they can't seem to escape from. Now, bodies, it's just a movie. And that's what horror movies do. Good horror movies portray our worst fears on a macro level. Truth be told, many of us are afraid of adapting this mob mentality. And yes, maybe the mob isn't going to string us up or break our kneecaps or burn us as witches. However, they are canceling us. They are humiliating us by creating these echo chambers where ideas and opinions slowly become facts. All those who conform are rewarded with more likes and more shares and an increase in visibility in the search engine algorithm. While those of us who don't conform, well, I don't need to tell you what happens to us. Groupthink destroys original thought. And without original thought, there are no rebellions, no massive inventions, no art that completely changes the industry. Without original thought, we are a society that will cease to exist.